Prime Minister Narendra Modi held a splendid roadshow in his constituency of Varanasi, from where he is contesting the Lok Sabha polls amidst the fourth phase of polling across India today. He is all set to file his nomination from the seat tomorrow morning. He has spearheaded a grandiose 5-kilometer-long roadshow, setting the stage for his upcoming nomination filing from this seat. The roadshow, a precursor to tomorrow's filing, commenced with PM Modi paying homage to the statue of Pandit Madan Mohan Malviya at the Lanka Gate of Banaras Hindu University. The Prime Minister also called Kashi special because of the unbelievable warmth and affection of the people. He is seeking a third consecutive term from Varanasi, which will go to polls on the 1st of June in the 7th and final phase. Well, we are certainly going to be talking about how the tone has been set by PM Modi and the BJP for his election from Banaras through this show of strength today. Joining us live is Pankaj Vora, Executive Editor of the Sunday Guardian. We also have Alok Mehta, Editorial Director of India News, joining us live. Priya Segar, Editorial Director of NewsX, is live with us. Madhav Nalapat, Editorial Director of the Sunday Guardian, also joins the broadcast live. Let me make a start with you first, Alok Mehta. The tone and the tenor certainly set for the Prime Minister's Varanasi election. Nomination filing day tomorrow and a big grand roadshow through the city in the evening on his nomination filing eve. Interestingly, also on a day the country was voting for the fourth phase.
Yeah, Udayji, thank you very much. I think you traveled a lot in Uttar Pradesh also, and you must have visited Varanasi. That's why I feel that this was a grand public relations, or you say, meeting with the people. I always differ with the concept of the road show. Because, if you want to touch the hearts of the people or the minds of the people, you have to go door to door. And Narendra Modi is not doing today. But he is doing since long. Every time he go there in Varanasi. But certainly before elections, you are very right. Before election, yesterday in Patna, even I will give more credit even to Patna, because Varanasi, his constituency, and people are more religious, people expectation, the development in Varanasi. Patna development is not such what Varanasi got. But even then, so Patna and today, it will give an impact to the not only the UP, but next three phases of the election. It is going to impact not this nomination of tomorrow, but for the party and in the name of the development. Apart from the Kashi Vishwanath or Ayodhya and Mathura and all, because Narendra Modi from the very beginning, he put double role. As a chief minister or as a prime minister is a different. What he become a party man, party campaigner, then he go as a party man very strongly. What he talks, sometimes we differ also. Why he's very seriously something is speaking very controversial. But then he is a campaigner. So for his constituency, I think for development, to clean the Kashi Vishwanath corridor, clean the Ganga, these kind of agenda for Banarsi Sadi to carpet people in Mirzapur and this area. This is for all over the world they are reaching there. That's why I feel that the development continues working for 5 hours. It gave result today what we have seen on the roads of the Varanasi.
Absolutely. Pankaj Vora, it certainly was there for all to see. The Prime Minister has held several road shows through the course of his campaign for the Lok Sabha polls 2024, including the one in Patna that Alok Mehta was referring to. But, when he came to Varanasi, it was very different, because this was his home turf, his home constituency, a constituency is seeking a third successive term for, a show of strength like the one we saw today. What is the messaging that it conveyed on his nomination filing eve? Tomorrow, of course, in the morning, the Prime Minister will be filing his nomination for Varanasi, which falls in the 7th phase.
If I recall correctly, it was on 14th of May in 2014 that Narendra Modi took oath for the first time as the Prime Minister of India. So, basically this date perhaps coincides with the day of his taking oath as the Prime Minister, and therefore it is significant. Number two, Varanasi has undergone a lot of transformation in the last 10 years from, it is regarded by many as the oldest city in the world. But, the kind of development that has been witnessed in Varanasi in the last 10 years is phenomenal. And the kind of response Mr. Modi got when he visited the city was, overwhelming. And it is going to impact the elections, not only in Varanasi, but also in areas of Purvanchal and also areas where polling will be taking place in the next phase of elections. Having said that, what the opposition is also going to raise is that after the roadshow, he had visited the temple to seek the blessings of Lord Shiva, and there, there were these cameras inside the temple, which was very unusual for any campaign to be taking place. Therefore, the opposition is going to raise this, but I mean, these things keep on happening, and opposition has its objections. But the show was very, very impressive, and dictates what is going to happen in this region in the next few days.
Do you also believe that, Professor Nalapa, that it wasn't just, a show of strength for Varanasi, but is setting the tone and tenor for the rest of the three phases? We passed the halfway mark now. The fourth phase, of course, concluded today evening. 3 more phases to go. And with Varanasi, of course, also being one of the constituencies left in the 3 phases to come, will the roadshow today and this show of strength by Prime Minister today, and also perhaps what we'll see tomorrow morning, set the tone and tenor for the BJP, hopefully, for them, for the rest of the phases that are left in eastern UP and other parts of the country?
Uday, I'd like to point out that Varanasi is not simply a city. It's not simply the Prime Minister's constituency. It is one of the 3 holy cities where Hindus are concerned. It is associated with Lord Shiva. Now, you take, for example, the Saudi government. How beautifully they have looked after. The king of Saudi Arabia calls himself the protector of the holy places, Al-Haramain Sharifain. And how proudly, with such pride, with such complete, attention to detail, the Saudi royal family looks after these holy sites. Look at the Vatican, look at Jerusalem, and look at Varanasi until just about, say, 7, 8, 10 years ago. It is one of the 3 holy sites of the Hindu faith. More than 1 billion people in India are Hindus. And some of the most successful people all over the world are also Hindu. But look at the condition that it was in. You have been there during that time, and you've been there now. Any of us who have been there, we can see the difference. Today, Varanasi is looked after as lovingly as the holy sites of those of other faiths are looked after by their respective governments. What is surprising to me is that for so long, nothing was done in this holy city, a city which is immersed in the essence of Lord Shiva. Nothing at all was done. There was almost no pride in that fact that it's such an ancient city. Today that pride has been rekindled. Today means over the last several years, if I may say so, since Prime Minister Modi came to power and chose Varanasi as his constituency, that pride has been rekindled. And it is a very, very important point, because the reality is there's nothing communal about it. There's nothing communal about taking care of the holy sites of Islam, of the holy sites of the Christian faith, of the holy sites of the Buddhist faith. They're being taken care of in India, for example, very lovingly, or the holy sites of any faith. But in India, somehow, after 1947, the 3 holy sites were completely neglected, completely and totally neglected. And now you see in Varanasi a complete change. And all this means is India also, and if I may say so, the holy sites of the Hindus also are now being given the same attention as the holy sites of the other major faiths of the world. I think this is the important message that we have got from Narendra Modi being the candidate and including today's roadshow. It was not so much a political show. It was a show. It was not even a show. It was a kind of a spiritual fulfillment.
Okay.
And I think, millions of people have been to Varanasi and they've experienced that change for themselves. And I think I welcome it, and I'm sure the whole world will welcome it.
Yes. Priya Sehgal, roping you in here, there were obviously many reasons that the Prime Minister himself and the BJP decided on Varanasi to be the second constituency that he would contest in way back in 2014. Do you believe the optics of that still holds true for the party and its success in UP and other regions still even today in 2024, as we see this homecoming today of the Prime Minister, this spiritual fulfillment, as Professor Nalapat was saying, as the PM seeks a third consecutive term ahead of his nomination filing tomorrow? Priya.
Yeah, so they actually, this whole thing, it is all about the optics and messaging. As far as the Prime Minister is done, his actions have to be always seen in the perspective and the larger messaging that he sends out. And this is, to take on from what Professor Nalapat said, this is, he's always shown himself as the spiritual king, whether it was in Ayodhya or now with this whole, roadshow going up to Kashi Vishwanath, fulfilling the agenda of the BJP, the spiritual overtones. With him, he also had Yogi Adityanath again, in the same kind of imagery, the spiritual kingship, spiritual ruler imagery of the BJP that both Modi and the BJP want to give. So in that sense, the whole spiritual, the symbolism, the dip in the holy river, which is also planned, I think, for tomorrow before he files a nomination, the going to the temple, I think all that is part, him wearing the saffron robes today. It's all part of the larger imagery that he is sending, because, it's a message beyond Varanasi to the rest of India as to the kind of politics the Prime Minister and the BJP stand for. They are not ashamed of their Hindu identity. In fact, they are reinforcing it. That's part of their appeal. The Hindu Hriday Samrat is, what he's called also. So I think he's reaching out to his constituency and beyond at a time, when the election also is taking that very strong narrative on Mandal versus Kamandal. He's making it very clear that the Hindu vote bank, he's going to be unapologetically standing behind it, nothing to be embarrassed or ashamed of. This is something that he is going to be doing with great flamboyance and flair, because this is what he has promised to the people, and he's never made a secret about it. He never made a secret about Ayodhya. He delivered on that, the Kashi corridor. And in terms of the kind of politics the BJP believes in, this was reinforcing the whole symbolism, the imagery. And of course, this is his hometown, his constituency. So the roadshow here would be grander than any other roadshow. But we saw him 2 days ago in Patna Sahib Gurdwara also. So he is going to all the religious places of whichever constituency or state that he is visiting. We saw him in the south also going to all the temples. So he is carrying on with the fact that while the Congress makes a big deal about not mixing religion with politics because they are playing to the their Muslim appeasement card, the BJP has been very unapologetic about it, and especially Modi's BJP. They are saying this is what it is. Why should we are a Hindu majority state? That is our constituency, and this is how we are going to do up governance model. It's a bit of religion, bit of governance. It's a combination of both. He's, that imagery which we saw in Ayodhya is now being in the Pran Pratishtha Puja is now that is really when the conch of the elections was blown by the BJP, and that we see carried on through whichever state he visits. Of course, as Varanasi hometown, and he's going to be filing his constituency. The show here will be grand as it was really today. So as expected, really the optics.
Yes, the spiritual optics, of course, clearly there, but also the optics for the rest of the country, Pankaj Vora, but also more importantly for Uttar Pradesh. The state which contributes the most amount of MPs. As the saying, earlier was that the road to Delhi goes through UP. So do you believe those boxes are also being ticked once again by the Prime Minister? His standing for election from Varanasi, picking a seat of UP, many believe did lead the BJP to the strong showing that we saw in 2014 that did contribute to their sweeping the election. 2019, their numbers did go down a bit, but they still did pretty well in UP. Do you believe that the Prime Minister is hoping that that will continue in 24 too, and his show of strength in UP will further boost the BJP's prospects of that? Do you believe the UP optics are there for all to see as well? Or do you believe it's more about the spiritual optics, as Professor Nalapat was saying, given the fact that Kashi, Mathura and Ayodhya are spoken about as the 3 most important Hindu pilgrimage sites in the state?
There are 2 or 3 aspects to the entire thing. The spiritual aspect, of course, is overriding now because, no one is talking of development. No one is talking of smart cities. No one is talking about, so many other accomplishments of this government. But, the focus is on spirituality. and on visit to temples, etc. UP, of course, is undoubtedly the most populous state and is extremely important in the scheme of things of any political party. More so now because there have been reports, though unconfirmed and unauthenticated, saying that BJP has been slipping in parts of UP where elections have been held and will find it very difficult to hold on to the 62 number which it had in the 2019 elections. Now, whether this is true or not will be known only on June 4th, but the Prime Minister is leaving nothing to chance. And he has put all his efforts and energies to ensure that UP stays with the BJP and remains after Gujarat as its strongest area of influence and of, politically for it. So this is where his efforts are, and he is certainly trying to, if this is true that BJP has been slipping, so he wants to stop that and wants to overturn whatever the perception is by his, last-ditch effort to bring his party back to power for a third historic term.
Okay. Also, Professor Nalapat, the fact, of course, being that Prime Minister Narendra Modi has combined spirituality with development as well. He says that, he's done, of course, a lot for Hindu pilgrimage sites and the Hindu faith, but through a Vikas push, through this Vikas Purush image that he has created as well. Be it the Kashi Vishwanath corridor, which has transformed Varanasi, be it, of course, the infrastructure push in Ayodhya, which also was happening along with the Ram Mandir building, to also now efforts that are on in Mathura as well, of cleaning up the area, of course, around the temples, the holy temples in Mathura, and also building highways to connect Mathura with other parts of the country. So do you believe it's been a smart infrastructure development push for these pilgrimage cities, including, of course, Varanasi, where the Prime Minister is the MP?
Look, Uday, the fact is, as Pankaj, who has followed this very well, knows, so many prime ministers have made so many pilgrimages to temples. We all know. Mrs. Indira Gandhi used to routinely go to temples. Long back, I accompanied Rajiv Gandhi to Guruvayur temple when he went there for the first time. He was not the prime minister. At that time, he had just been appointed general secretary of the AICC. But the fact is that so many prime ministers have gone to temples. My point is, yes, they went to the temples. Now, please don't tell me that their motive in going to these temples was entirely spiritual, because I know some important politicians who go to temples only when elections are there, and when there is no in between that period, it may last 3 years or 5 years, there's no temple going at all. So don't tell me it's completely separated from politics. It is not. So what I'm saying is that the criticism of Prime Minister Modi that he's going to temples, he goes to temples routinely. But my point is that till now, nothing has been done about these three holy sites, not to talk about tens of thousands of temples. I'm not talking of anything else. I believe only these three holy sites matter, not in any other site, whatever has been converted into. But you have thousands and thousands of dilapidated temples all across India. And almost all of them are under government control, in the sense that they've been run by by Devaswam boards, temple boards for decades, and nothing was done. The money that was collected there was spent on salaries, on other expenditure. Nothing was done very much for the temples themselves. And this is the point. And this is exactly the point that you're seeing change in Ayodhya and in Kashi. And you're seeing that change in Mathura. So, please, every prime minister has gone to temples. But the fact is that temples have remained dilapidated. Many of them collapsed. Many of them had their idols stolen. Many of them had their ornaments replaced with fake ornaments. All this went on, and the same ornaments used to appear in auction houses in London and New York. All this has happened in Indian history. So this is a change. And I'd like to say that there's nothing wrong in such a change. You have, for example, the US president praying on the Bible when he takes office. You have, so many other examples, even in Britain, going to Westminster Abbey. The royal family goes there, the prime ministers go there. There's nothing wrong with that. So I'd only like to say that the reality is that finally, something is being done to ensure that these places are treated with the respect they merit, the historical respect they merit, the spiritual respect they merit, and the respect they merit as being integral to the faith of more than 1 billion citizens of India. That is the change that Prime Minister Modi has achieved, and I think that's an important change, and I think all his critics need to take note of that.
Okay, let me take that straight across to Alok Mehta as well. Alok Mehta, do you believe the reasons that the BJP and PM Modi decided on Varanasi for the Prime Minister to be his constituency have reaped dividends for the party in 2019 and 2014? And do you believe that's something you're expecting again in 24, particularly in these next three phases? We're also expecting a big show of strength tomorrow with of course, a Ganga Aarti, with, of course, a visit to the temple, with, of course, the big nomination filing of the Prime Minister. The names of the people who will be, his backers are still to be finalized and disclosed, but we're hearing through our sources that perhaps they may include a farmer and Aam Aadmi as well. There will be optics there too. And we are expecting it to be a show of strength with, a plethora of BJP-ruled chief ministers and other alliance party chiefs to be present as well, apart from, of course, the Home Minister and the Defence Minister in Banaras tomorrow.
Udaji, certainly there is a party decision, not in 2014 also. But here, because I know the background, Narendra Modi ji was traveling or even living at the time in a few months he spent when he was not even the BJP. He was in the Varanasi, it was very close to his heart. He was also going to Kedarnath and some Himalayas in 15, 20 days he used to go there. That's why I say this part of religious or spiritual is different than what he do the politics. That's why Mr. Dalpat also very rightly said, and then I will add it, because the economic development also with this. See, Sarnath, not about the Hinduism, Sarnath becoming more popular from Japan, from China, including China or the East Asia countries. So these kind of development, Kashi Vishwavidyalaya, Madan Mohan Malviya established for education. Again, it will go as a prestigious institution. Otherwise, it was ruined. It was just for movement or agitation. I think Pankaj Vohra knows about it. And how you create your own constituency. Pankaj is there and Nalpatji is there, so they will remember Sanjay Gandhi created Amethi before 77. He was going there for Shramdan Shivir and for Youth Congress. Maybe one can criticize his other work and all, controversy of emergency. But that's why the Amethi was constituency for them. Mrs. Gandhi was because of the Firoz Gandhi and all. I'm not going background, but because you have to cultivate your constituency. And with the same thing, you have economic development. That's why I mentioned that how with the tourism, religious tourism is also a big way. That's why in Saudi Arabia and UAE, now the temples are there. When you criticize here, I will mention, Nalpatji mentioned about the Prime Minister Indira Gandhi. I will also mention Narasimha Rao. He was more religious. Dr. Shankar Dayal Sharma. He was very religious, more than even sometime I feel because he was a scholar in a Vedic mantra and all. Maybe he must be knowing more than the Modi ji. But he was also going very religiously. But at that time, there was no media in such a way, big way, and television was not there, social media was not there. So people were not talking. Sometimes we used to criticize about Narasimha also. I have written something about it. Because with Chandra Swami, when he used to go there, I used to criticize about it. Then it created more confusion. Astrology. So same thing. I think with the religious part, this development part, and there's a politician for the party, that's why it suited. And that's why he was working. Even for first time, I'm telling you, for Kashmir also, where he was the chief minister, Mr. Modi and Mr. Amit Shah was working homework. When he was a member of BJP here, he went, when Advani ji was the deputy prime minister, he was traveling in Kashmir. When somebody was killed from their own party, So he went there by bus. You can imagine. They are working since long for these constituency, for development, and same thing for Hindu religion, because they believe in, they never say, no, we don't, no hypocrisy. But Sonia Gandhi also go for Kumbh Mela. I was there at the time. So they just go for show, man. For show, to just please that, okay, we also believe for Kumbh Mela, people are coming. So but the Ganga pollution, this Ganga, clean Ganga, millions and millions they spent there earlier, and no development was there. And even the clean was not there. Even the plant was not working. And then, but now since last 10 years, the water also improved. I'm not saying everything is changed like a miracle.
Okay, last word to you, Priya Sehgal, before we end. On the road ahead, has the tone been set for the remaining battles? And will the optics tomorrow that the BJP will again show us in the morning be something that they will be relying on to set the tenor for the remaining 3 phases of the elections?
Oh, absolutely. They expect, because as you said, now the battleground is also shifting towards UP and more in the north. You will see more of the Hindu card being played, and this whole religious overtones being played up. The PM playing its Hindu, playing up the BJP's Hindu identity, and because you asked that question about smart cities and development.
Yes.
The BJP, at the end of the day, their development doesn't win elections as much as emotion does. Emotion is what pushes the final voter to the ballot, and emotion is going to be in the religious and this showman events like this, like we're seeing him going to Varanasi. He has done a lot of development where temple towns are concerned, perhaps definitely more than the Congress and other parties. But what about Agra? I mean, that's where the seventh wonder of the world is. Why don't you go and develop work over there also? So there is, of course, very strong messaging going on of the kind of he's going to be developing mostly the Hindu sites, the Hindu shrines, which is fine, which is part of the BJP's manifesto and the BJP's calling card and their constituency. But at the end of the day, what has the BJP done on development? They don't want the argument to go on that card. I totally agree. I think someone, whether they said it or not, but development is not being played up in the BJP rhetoric, because that is where the Congress manifesto is targeting them and finding fault. The Congress has realized a bit late in the day, but they finally realized that to have a conversation around religion is actually playing on the BJP's playing field. So, which is why the manifesto is talking about jobs. They're trying to bring in the reservations, the mandal card, anything but the mandal card, which is the BJP's strong point. BJP is sticking to its strong point, especially in UP, especially, after the Ayodhya temple. So you're going to see more of these opportunities. In Varanasi, of course, why not? It's the home turf, so they will play it up. PM went to Ayodhya recently again last week. So all that is going to be seeing more and more of it. The Hindu card is going to be revved up big time by the BJP. This is all part of that. It's all politics there at the end of the day, whatever, I agree with Professor Nalapat. It's not all spiritual, definitely a lot of politics, but that's the way India votes, unfortunately.
Okay, well, we will see how India will vote on the 4th of June. But for the time being, my thanks to all of our guests for joining us on this discussion. It's time for a very short break.